I'm just going to press pause there for a moment and invite us just to arrive in the space. So just finding that comfortable seat, whatever that looks like for you. Let the hands rest on the legs, palms down. Let the feet touch the floor. You can be in bare feet, or if you're in a colder climate where you're wearing socks, but I'd like your feet to connect to the earth. Sitting up nice and tall, let the shoulder blades melt down the back. And as you inhale, visualize yourself taking that breath from the soles of the feet all the way up to the crown of the head. Hold the breath in, hold the breath in. And as you exhale through the mouth, feel that breath also leaving through the crown of the head. We're going to do that a couple more times. Inhale. Filling up the lungs, feeling the belly expand, feeling the chest lifting, holding the breath in at the top of the inhale for a couple of seconds. Slow, steady exhale through the mouth. Feeling that portal at the top of the head, also opening and expanding. One more breath in. Oh. And just start to notice how those 3 cleaning breaths have brought the body into a place of openness and receptivity. Taking a moment here just to scan the body and noticing any sensations, anything that may be arising for you. Notice any areas where you may be holding tension. I just felt my shoulders release just before I said that. I'll guide you through a very brief exercise to really ground and anchor us into the body. Inhaling through the soles of the feet. Exhaling through the ankles. Inhaling through the ankles. Exhaling through the knees. Inhaling through the knees. Exhaling through the hips. Inhaling through the hips. Exhaling through the belly. Spirit is guiding me. Just let's place our hands softly on our belly around that solar plexus area. Inhaling through the belly. Exhaling through the belly button. Inhaling through the belly button. Exhaling through the heart. Inhaling through the heart. Exhaling through the throat. Inhaling through the throat. Exhaling through the nose. Inhaling through the nose. Exhaling through the first eye, that point between the eyebrow. Inhaling through the first eye. Exhaling through the crown of the head. Taking a deep breath in through the nose. Feel that breath moving from the crown of the soles of the feet all the way up to the crown of the head. And slowly exhaling through the nose. Feeling your hands resting on your belly. Feeling the heat radiating from the palms of the hands into the belly. Feel the belly expanding into the hands each time you inhale. Feel the belly moving away from the hands each time you exhale. Let the shoulders relax. And now slowly releasing the hands away from the belly, resting the back of the right hand into the palm of the left, bringing the thumbs together. Slowly bowing forward, bringing the chin to the chest. And inviting the eyes to open. And slowly returning the head back to center. I see some people making some movements. So inviting the body just to move in any way that you feel you need to move. Maybe reach the arms up, take a bit of a stretch. Releasing in the neck, releasing in the jaws. Beautiful. All right. So welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And what I'm going to have us do is, Ruth, are you here? I just saw you come in. We're going to go around and we're going to give ourselves, I would say, about a minute just to do a check-in. Notice what came up for you during that grounding exercise, grounding and centering. Acknowledging any physical shifts that you've had over the last couple of weeks. Any areas that you feel may still be blocked, for lack of a better word. Areas where you want to shine the light in. This is what solstices and rather eclipses do. You're shining light into darkness. So really the question is, where are you ready to shine that light? Where have you been shining that light? What have you noticed? For those of us that are very left brain and require a list, I don't remember what I just said. It's basically just checking in with yourself and noticing how you're feeling, at this time. Where have you lightened your load? Because all indications are time has just accelerated. If we thought March was insane, April, get ready. So really, you just have to be in a place of presence and clarity and truth and keep things moving forward. So I am going to start with Miss Paulette.
Hi, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
I had to run and get some air on. It's hot, 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 hot here. So,
it's also very hot here. It's very interesting that you say that. It's very hot in Kingston.
Oh, it is hot. I'm waking up to 81 degrees sometimes. So very hot. Anyway, so checking in. Actually, it's always interesting when I attend these kind of gatherings. I have found that I cannot eat certain foods anymore. It never bothered me. It doesn't bother me in, allergy-wise but my body doesn't respond well to it. And the conversation that I had with others is about gluten and some of the things that we tend to eat because of the way food is prepared nowadays. And so I love baked things. I love anything that's baked and sweet. And so I am now having to look for alternatives. So that's now what I'm paying attention to, the kinds of things I eat. And I have choices, but habits, are very difficult to kick. And so I'm trying now to reintroduce some of the better things and also to be accepting of that. I'm still going to go for chocolate. Never going to stop. But in terms of some of the other food items, I'm limiting the amount I take in, and if possible, I will eliminate them from my diet. And that's it. You're muted, Nadine.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Paulette. Denise.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning. In a mode of questioning why every time I get to the point, or I think I'm getting to the point of being centered and having things under control, something comes up and, changes all of that. Started with you 2 weeks, 3 weeks now, and really got that whole issue of cleaning up the space and really feeling ready. And now I've had to come to Jamaica. My mother fell. No broken bones, thank goodness, but we had to go through the process of the scans and the this and the that. And while I'm here checking in on my friend who was diagnosed at the same time I was 2 years ago, and she is basically in transition. So, it's brought up back your own feelings on your mortality, and yeah, the headspace just has gone off again. Grateful for this morning. Grateful for. I was just about to go do my own session this morning when I saw your thing come to remind me. I didn't even remember that we were supposed to be meeting up this morning. So I'm grateful for that, and that has helped. So I think to start the process again of getting back on track. So I'm mentally committed, but the emotions right now are kind of, yeah, a bit dealing with.
Wow. I want to say a couple of things because you've been on my mind this week, and I think I left you a couple of voice notes. Like I remember, again,
Sure, it's been a crazy week, Nadine.
yeah, time
Sorry.
is moving that I can't even remember when, but I came out of the shower and I picked up the phone again. Notice when you get messages and insights. For me, I'm either doing the dishes or in the shower. And I literally picked up the phone and said, Denise, you're coming up. What's going on? The other thing I want to say from a planetary standpoint, you may have noticed people around you falling ill or checking out. The potency of the time is as such that this is happening. So you really want to fortify your inner muscle, for lack of a better word. We look at what happened in Myanmar, 7.7 on the Richter scale. Paulette, you're talking about Panama being hot. Jamaica, we're speaking about being hot. Now, I'm not a whatever the person is that studies earthquakes, but I have done enough emergency response to tell you that when an earthquake happens in one area, it has to happen somewhere else to balance itself out. That's a natural order of things. So we can expect that more is going to be happening in the coming days, weeks, whatever. So again, just notice what's going on around you. We want to be having foods that are also grounding us, but at the same time, are high vitality foods. Here in Kingston, there has been a recent issue about water being contaminated. So please, if you happen to be in the area, you want to be drinking bottled water, and water, WATA, is not water. Please do not drink it. For those that are in Jamaica, that brand, you don't want to be doing that. Catherine's Peak or alkaline water lifespan, but really look at the water that you're drinking. You also want to be adding, it just flew out of my head, mineral drops to your water. But Kamila will talk more about that. And also justifiably not feeding the fear. Easier said than done. Way easier said than done. So thanks for that, Denise. Ruth, we're doing a check-in. How are you?
Okay. Yeah, it's just been a really busy time with the business, so I haven't had a lot of internal time. to focus. And I kind of missed what everybody else said, so I don't know where to jump in.
Basically, we were just doing a check-in. What's been going on for you over the last couple of weeks? How has your cleansing process been? I know you did your desk. The last time we spoke about the
Yeah,
refrigerator, just gone shopping.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm very fortunate. I'm able to hit up the farmers market last weekend and this weekend, and we get a lot of what we get is from the local community here, the farming community that I live in. So, and I did hear about the water contamination. So I don't usually buy bottled water when I'm in the city. I just use a Brita because, historically Kingston water's been pretty good. I just found that a couple nights I didn't get good sleep, and that really impacted me. And I'm back to getting good sleep. So the main thing again is still trying to, handle this business, the ups and downs of this business. I'm trying to figure out how to, go forward with that. So that's not really a topic, but
Okay, thank you for that. I will do a personal check-in with you on that. Mina.
Mm. Am I muted? No.
No, I can
Okay.
hear you. Someone just dropped off the call. Who was that? Oh, they're back. Ali. Okay, cool. Yes, Mina.
I am going through a transformation of some sort, like having another awakening, and I know it's likely deeper than what I could explain now, so I'm trying to figure that out. But in the middle of being happy for a new life, as my granddaughter was born a couple days ago, and at the same time grieving the death of relationship and just things that need to fall away. So and that breathing thing that you did is like the ankles, the knees thing, the belly, get to the heart, and I feel emotional. So I still feel heavy hearted. So just trying to figure out how to navigate happiness and sadness at the same time is kind of difficult.
Wow. So how do you know that you're happy? Where in your body is happiness showing up?
It I'd have to tap in to see. I'm not sure. I mean, I know I'm happy. There's so much to be grateful for. There's so much things to be happy for. And again, with my baby girl being born, I'm just loving that, part by itself. And then, I don't know.
So how do you know that you're sad?
Because I feel it in my chest.
Ah, interesting. Can you consider the possibility that both things kind of live in the same area?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So, how do you know you're happy? What happens when you feel happy?
I feel light. I feel joy. I feel.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So, a breakup in the middle of an eclipse, everything in an eclipse is even more intensified. That's the nature of eclipses and what eclipses do. So feel all the feels, which I know you are, because the only way out is through. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. Yeah. Shelley.
Checking in. I would say I've been very busy. I'm a producer. I am constantly trying to produce and achieve goals. And I definitely feel the need to focus more on my personal needs versus making sure I survive well. So that is kind of something I'm trying to balance out right now. How to do both without feeling like I'm neglecting one or the other.
Balance. Yes. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. Melanie?
So for me, the last few weeks has been interesting. Actually, last month or two, I've been trying to really deal with my everlasting issues around money. And one thing I tried to do, which was really interesting, is to shed as much of my expenses, but my big expenses, small expenses are not my problem. It's more things like insurance and stuff like that. So I don't consume much. It's not that. So how to shape that, and those are all based on my worst things of what if, what if I die tomorrow? How will my children deal with my estate duty? What if I get more sick? Should I have more medical insurance? What if, anyway, so what ifs. So I'm trying to really deal with that and really shape the amount of money I need every month so that I can be truly free. Because I feel like, I can't really do the work I want to do because I'm too anxious that it won't bring enough money, that kind of thing. And then at the same time, that's also really encouraged, because the one thing I was adamant to do was, while I was cutting my expenses, was to really consume ethically. It's something that's been a long journey for me, but to really consume ethically, even if it means a little bit more expensive. So I don't go to supermarkets, to big companies. I don't want to support them anymore. I found a little farm actually just around the corner from me, where I hang out and buy stuff from them, and another sort of community crowd. Yeah. So it also means that it's been a bit more easier for me with my plant-based diet, because like Colette and Nadine was saying, Paulette was saying, my issues with gluten, and I've been following a sort of plant-based diet for a long time, but still, my digestive system is still a little bit out of whack. April is always a difficult month for me. It's been for years, and it happens subconsciously. I always just know suddenly I'm not feeling great, and then I realize we're going into April. It's my birthday month, but it's also the month that my partner died a couple of years ago, and it's as if my body remembers it. It's like we get to April, my body remembers it. So I've also understood that there's something like seasonal memories, and I find it a really, really tough month always. So. Yeah, and then I drove past a billboard this morning which said, "Just be kind." And I loved it. I don't know where this billboard came from, because it's never there. So it just had like big thing which said, "Just be kind." Because I think I work in the political field, so I've been very unsettled by what's happening globally, and particularly in America, and how it's affecting the world and my country as well. So, and that thing about, can't everybody just be kind? How difficult can it be? Even politicians, just be kind. So yeah, I guess that's me. Of course, we're going into autumn, so for us, it's not spring on this side. We're going now into the shedding month, where the leaves fall and everything.
Wow, thank you. Thank you for that. Yes, I remember from my time of being with you that you have always been very conscious around how you consume, what you consume, and where you consume. I remember the program that I taught on with the children that had the organic farm at the back of the school. Yeah, I don't want to take up too much time, because I know you're gonna have a lot for Kamila, who I want to introduce properly. But Frederica and your friend, did you type your name? I'm terrible with names. I'm sorry, I've forgotten. Can you tell me your name again? Your friend's name?
Ariane.
Ayan.
Ariane.
Yes. Ayan, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling quite. It's funny you were mentioning checked out, because we're in the humanitarian world. Things are a little bit uncertain at the moment, and I think we're all realizing we're pretty burnt out and wanting to, and everyone is dealing it differently, I guess. But for sure, I'm just tired and waiting to understand or see what I want to do and where I'm going to go, I guess.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. Melanie, you and I are both shaking our heads for the same reason. Federico.
Yeah, same as Ariane. So I feel now is the calm after the storm. So it has been like 2 tough weeks where, in fact, the whole office was fired. So you need to realize that, yes. So you need to realize that you need to change. I knew it inside myself, but, hearing it puts you in a different state. But for some strange reason, I had to travel this weekend and I stayed. And I feel it's a long weekend because it's Ramadan. So I feel it has been the best thing because I could pause and I start really focusing on cooking myself, really dedicating some times to really do things, even if they're not perfect. So yeah, I'm in that phase, the calm after a big storm.
Wow, thank you. Thank you. All right, so Miss Kamila McDonald, I'm so happy you're here. Oh my goodness, I've been nervous all night. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is a busy, 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 busy woman. If you think you're busy, she takes busy to a whole nother level. And when I say she's busy, it's not that she's running around. Her life is full. And I have had the honor and privilege to observe her for so long, I don't even know how long, but to me, what I have seen is someone based on their own first person story, really revolutionizing food awareness in Jamaica and bringing plant-based nutrition, wellness, ways of thinking to the broader spectrum of society. Those of us that are Jamaican, those who kind of understand the social cultural breakdown, as it were, yes, within Rasta, we had Ital is Vital. And then you had a set of people who were either traveled, who were exposed to a different way of being, but a plant-based health way of living has not been, correct me if I'm wrong when you jump on, Kamila, has to me not been our natural way. And to see that sort of opening up and more people returning to the earth because our ancestors were connected to the earth, and just watching you really be on this mission and this vision for me has been absolutely huge. And so when I invited Kamila on, we could be here for hours. Our stories are very similar, but you'll have to come back for another webinar for us to have that discussion. But I think the big question here is, how are we digesting life? How are we feeding ourselves from a physical standpoint, an emotional standpoint, a spiritual standpoint? And so on the Spring Clean, Spring Cleanse program, where we're cleaning from the outside in and the inside out, I really wanted Kamila to share with us a bit of her story. She has heard some of us share, so she's picked up on some things. We've had a few conversations about why is it so important that we need to be eating plant-based and connected to the earth, and what are the benefits of that, and what are some things that basic things that we can do? People who do not have this lifestyle, it can seem overwhelming. Also, Kamila, there are women here from, I think, mid-30s to over 60. So there's a whole range of ages here where, as we, I don't like to use the word age, but that is the word, our bodies respond differently as a result of our hormones. How do we speak to that, and how do we feed that? And yeah, thank you for being here, my sister.
Oh, good morning, everyone. It is such an honor to be here. Nadine, my sister, give thanks for inviting me, and just so proud of all of you. My understanding is that a few of you have been showing up week after week. You've been on a journey, spring cleaning out your cupboards and your fridges, and Nadine has shared that with me. And even if you haven't been, just showing up here this morning to explore and to learn and to tune in, because I think so many of us at different stages of our lives, we get so disconnected, right? All of us. And just that reconnection and that exploring and just continuing to just be curious is so important, and it's a brave thing, right? Because also that understanding, or as we say, overstanding, requires some action, right? Because when you know better, you have to do better. And as humans, we're creatures of habit. I say this all the time, and so to make any change, whether it's a small change or a drastic change, is requires a lot from us. So just want to give thanks for the space that you're holding here, all of you, and for inviting me here. And as Nadine explained, I grew up in a Rastafarian household, right? So that just meant the food that I ate was just natural, right? From the earth. We didn't really call it healthy. It was just real food, right? And I grew up just thriving, and I swam competitively. I used to be a dancer. I guess once a dancer, always a dancer. But I would say, if I was to describe my life, I used to just move through the world with ease and energy and vitality. And then when I was 18 years old, I left home for the first time. And I was the first of my 4 siblings to leave Jamaica. And I moved to a very cold northern town in Norway. And I can tell you that nothing could have prepared me for that transition, right? So I don't know if any of you here live in the cold, but those cold, dark winters, and also a very rigorous school schedule at that time. And I think for the first time, because, when you grow up in a pack, again, I'm the first of 5 children, and we come from a very close-knit family. So for the very first time, I was just on my own, and I don't think I dealt with it very well, right? And so even from the perspective of food, which was once prepared for me with love, all of a sudden became something that I had to figure out for myself. And, I failed, I would say. And I think in just very negative coping mechanisms, I reached for the comfort food, the processed food, the packaged food, the easy food, right? Food that was high in sugar, comfort foods, right? That don't provide any comforts whatsoever. And without realizing it, I didn't just gain weight and a lot of it, but I also just really lost a part of myself. So I was no longer energetic. My digestion was a mess. I suffered from just really bad acne. I was no longer just kind of clear. I sank into like a very deep depression, quite frankly. And I remember just not recognizing who I became, right? And I felt so out of control of myself, and I felt so disconnected from myself. And even for some time developed an eating disorder. And after years and years and years of struggling, and I hit a rock bottom. And I did the yo-yo dieting and the fad diets, and I finally, after years of kind of going through that roller coaster, I finally made a decision not to go on a diet, not to punish myself anymore, not to chase a number on a scale, right? But to return home, really. And I would say not just to Jamaica, right? Because eventually I came home after living overseas for a number of years, maybe 15 years totally. But again, just returning to the way of eating and living that had sustained me before leaving. And I remember everything changing after that. And, I started exercising, I stopped eating processed food. I was severely addicted to sugar. And so I worked on that addiction. And I really started to understand myself and my body. I became very fascinated with learning and studying lifestyle change. I did my undergraduate in California. And so that was also fascinating for me because it felt very similar to the life that I was raised in. I find that in California, they're very, very progressive, and an understanding of food is to another level. And so this was when I became certified as a personal trainer and a sports nutritionist. And then I started working with clients, and that was when I realized how many people were struggling just like I had been struggling, right? And I think that after years of, just on my personal training and sports nutrition, working with people in meal plans and, having them structure their life in a different way and really tackle lifestyle change. But then I also noticed a similarity with many clients who are doing all the right things, right? So you're doing the exercising, you're doing the meal planning. I kind of shifted to a more comprehensive approach. So, at first it was very kind of clinical, from my studies. But then I realized the holistic approach was a lot more important. And I started to understand the importance of sleep and stress management and how that played into our experience of the world. And, even so, in making all of these changes and the lifestyle changes and, getting in the right habits, that there were still so many that struggled, that maybe still felt tired or still felt bloated or still felt anxious, or just off, right? And that's when I started to lean a lot more in gut health and understanding the gut. And, the fact that we are not just what we eat, but we're also what we absorb, right? And just how much our gut health plays into that. And so, I would say that's a little in a nutshell. That's kind of my trajectory. And yes, Nance, I would agree with you. Growing up, I was the weird kid. My parents would fix me a lunchbox with all of the ITAL food, carrying it to school. And at that time, that would have been, 30 years ago, where everyone else was eating the processed food and the packaged up snacks. And, I think I didn't realize until I came back full circle to how I was raised that it was such a gift that my parents were giving me, because I used to, look at everybody else and be like, why can't I just buy food at school? Or why can't I just have the little snackables or whatever the thing was at that time. We were not allowed to eat fast food at all. I've never had red meat or beef. And so it really is quite incredible to see the transition of a more accepting. And my father will roll his eyes at me all the time, right? And him say, it's long time Rasta did telling this, So it's a funny thing because, again, as they say, before there was plant-based, or now they call it plant-forward, which I really love because it feels a lot more inclusive. And in my studies of, just lifestyle change and just the human body, understanding that we're all so different, right? And so a plant-based diet might work beautifully for me, but might not work that well for you. But a plant-forward diet, which just means including as many veggies as possible and just kind of trying to maybe not, it's very much in our culture in the Caribbean to be eating. Some people eat meat for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. They always, if we're not having meat, then somehow our diet is inadequate. And so I've been really proud of where we have come in Jamaica, really. And in fact, my parents tried to open up a vegetarian restaurant when I was much younger, right at that same place that our first location of Kamila's Kitchen up at Skyline Levels. And it failed because we were not prepared or ready for that. We weren't as conscious or understanding, what science is now proving, and to your point, Nadine, just in terms of turning to what our ancestors taught us, that wisdom, that sacred wisdom, right? If you have a Jamaican grandmother, say, Serasi tea, you understand me, and ginger tea, if you're having stomach issues, or coconut water for the electrolytes long before we had the sports drinks and those things. So it really has been fascinating doing this work. And I also have enjoyed a more I would say I'm more accepting. It's not as weird as it was when I was growing up. We're not seen so much as an outcast anymore. People are more embracing, and I would say everybody's mind is now opening up because the science is proving it. And whether you are vegan or vegetarian, we do know and understand that plant-based living and plant-forward living is really what feeds us and feeds our gut bacteria in the way that we need it to thrive, right? And to live with vitality. So yeah, I hope that answers that question and gives a little bit about my background and how I kind of got into the work. I really fell into the work. I studied journalism. And so it wasn't until I hit my own rock bottom and started to discover things for myself. And then I wanted to shout it from the mountaintops. I'm like, man, everybody needs to know this and feel this. And so I feel really honored every day to get up and do the work that I'm doing and see people feel the excitement when they reconnect with their bodies and kind of understand what works, what doesn't work. And it really is a fascinating journey to be on with somebody else, right? And to see that aha moment when it clicks and when everything can change and we realize that lifestyle change doesn't have to be hard or complicated, even though science kind of makes it that way for us sometimes.
Wow. I'm sitting on the edge of my seat with so much excitement, so many things that you have shared. And I'm going to see if I can weave all of this together beautifully. So I remember, and Melanie, you and I had these discussions when the pandemic hit in 2020. I said to everyone, the most important thing that's coming at us next is food security. If it even means that you have to grow a tomato on your windowsill, you need to be able to find a way to feed yourself. Yeah, that moment has now arrived in case we haven't seen it. All of this drama about the cost of eggs and etc., etc. So there is that piece. For someone who has worked in the international sphere, high intensity work. In fact, I recently started to work with a new trainer. And when I started to work with her and I told her what I was up to, she said, well, you sound pretty good. There are two things that are happening. One, you could possibly be undernourished, which was surprising to me. And the second one is the thing that you really have to manage is your stress levels. And you spoke about, Kamila, the sleep and the stress management.
Yes.
I had not heard the term plant forward before today. That's a new term, so I've learned something here. Now, prior to returning to Jamaica at the end of 2020, I had been largely vegetarian. I wouldn't say vegan, but vegetarian for about 20 years. I haven't had beef to eat since I went to live in America in 1983. And I remembered being in the supermarket, coming from Jamaica, where you would see meat in the supermarket. And then I went to America, or what we call foreign. And you look at these slabs of meat and they're like red, 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 red. And I'm going, oh, this thing red, so, right? And I knew at that age that something didn't make sense. And then I had a series of Rasta boyfriends because I have a weakness for man with locks. I'm just going to call it as it is. And so then the whole ital is vital came. One of the questions that I'm constantly asking is, how do we know what is right for us? Because it's a process, I think, of trial and error. And you touched on, the gut health. I'd love to hear a bit more about that. And then I also want to add the piece about food diaries. So part of our program, we kept a food diary for about a week. And what I noticed in my food diary, this is why we come back to know thyself. I was pretty good in the mornings, but I would tell people I don't eat dinner. So what would happen is I would have a pack of banana chips. I would have some nuts. I'd have a piece of chocolate. And I would even, full disclosure, have one of them round bun there. And I went, okay, so this is where my thing is falling apart. And I was able to see that only through recording, because if you got to see what you're doing. It's like anything that you're doing. All of us here on this call are extraordinary women doing extraordinary things, and we don't even realize it because we're running down the road, you know, writing political statutes and running restaurants and picking up children at schools and being on construction sites and taking care of our mother and investing and playing music and saving the world and doing all of this. And we don't even realize how much we're doing. So this is why really, if you want to shift something, there's a question that I put in here. Who must I become so that I can step into the next version of me? Because wherever it is you're trying to get to, who you are now isn't getting you there, which is why we're kind of here. Yeah. So who must I become so that you can step into that next version? And what would that look like? I've said a lot. Anyone have any questions for Kamila? Denise, I saw the look on your face.
Not sure. Just too many things going on. Give me a minute. Let me process and come back.
Okay. Melanie.
Can you maybe talk a little bit to older women, but I mean women going to perimenopause and menopause? Because I love being on a plant-based diet, but oh my God, every time I get to a doctor and they hear that, even functional doctors are like, oh my God, how are you getting your proteins? You know, and how, because I'm not crazy about legumes. It seems to affect my digestive system not too well. And then they go, so they've basically like said, if you don't eat eggs, you're going to die. You know, you have to eat some plant-based stuff, some protein, because one, you 10,000 calories before you'll get enough, you know, protein in, especially as you're getting older for so I hate that they trying to scare me, you know, and I know doctors know actually very little about nutrition, but I hate this scaring me into away from what my body really loves.
Right. And if you can share a little bit about the protein that you're currently consuming.
Yeah, so that is a problem. I mean, if I could, I would just eat vegan food, but like I said, I do eat beans, but not every day. So now what I do is I do eat eggs every now and then. I just make sure they're ethically sourced. And I mean, otherwise I try and just get it through the various sort of little bits of plants, you know, so I eat a lot of green veg, I eat a lot of, I do obviously now eat a lot more carbs but whole carbs, right? But the problem is if you don't eat gluten either, then of course you cut out some of the wheats as well. So yeah.
And your doctors are suggesting that you include more animal-based protein?
Yeah, but you know, not based on any blood tests or anything. Just when I go in and I say I'm tired, which is most probably 90% because when you go through menopause, you sleep very badly, you know, like, so then it's like, but are you taking, you know, you can't get enough protein, you know, trust me on this. And I defy them, but you know, it's always somewhere then in the back of your head when you're a bit tired and you exercise and you're not feeling great, you know.
Right. And have you ever worked on your understanding the health of your gut?
Yes.
Yes. And how are we in a good place with the gut?
I wasn't, and it's a little bit up and down, but it's obviously a plant-based always feels better on that, always, you know. So I think I don't take probiotics. I don't think if you're doing a well-balanced diet, you need it, but you know, I'm open to, I have in the past, yeah.
Right. And then maybe just things like what are your energy levels like? Do you ever feel bloated? Are you ever craving sugar? And those things. What about your digestion?
Sorry, the last one?
Your digestion?
My digestion is fine. I think, I mean, I do get bloated. I do get tired at times, energy-wise, and that depends really. The one thing I know that is toxic for me is actually coffee, and I only take decaf coffee, but I still think that's And that really upsets my stomach. And what was the other question? Bloated, yeah. Yes,
Any
to
sugar cravings or anything?
yes, late afternoon. It's Nadine's thing. 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. That's when the sugar cravings come. I don't
Right.
eat after 6 in the evening, so I do the
Okay,
kind of
good.
fasting through the night, you know.
Right. Yeah. And then what happens to you when you consume legumes? What you were saying that you don't particularly love.
My stomach gets sore and I get very gassy. Sorry, guys, but I do.
Yes. Okay. Because I was wondering if it was a gut, if it could have been a gut issue with that. But if you're not loving animal sources of protein, but the majority of the plant-based sources of protein, the legumes and the beans, you're saying that you're not feeling, your body doesn't really feel good. So I think maybe that kind of goes back to what Nadine was saying in terms of keeping a food journal. Have you done that before?
I have, but I actually made a note to do it again.
That helps so much. And just kind of that process of elimination, kind of taking away for a little bit, of time. I forgot to ask you about your dairy. You said no gluten, right?
No, I mean, every now and then, like Nadine said, it slips in, you know, I think we all do that. Would it really notice one slice of sourdough toast, you know, and then
Right.
of course I eat and I know it's not good for me. Dairy, no. So I don't do dairy.
No dairy. Okay, good. Right. So I would suggest taking some time, maybe even 6 weeks of doing that food journal all over again. Very, very detailed in terms of, breakfast, lunch, dinner, the snacks that you're having, the times that you're having these meals, and really tapping into how you're feeling after these meals. And maybe potentially completely eliminating the legumes and the beans for a little while, right? And then putting them back up. Maybe give yourself at least maybe a month without having it at all. And then just paying attention to how your body feels when you're adding them back in. But then obviously now you're going to be having to get your protein elsewhere. So great that you're on eggs. And again, this is so different for everybody. And that's why, if the doctors that you're seeing, they aren't doing the test and asking the questions and also trying to relate it to, other things that might be stressors for you, like the stress management and your sleep schedule and all of these things. I don't agree at all with somebody who says, no, you're not going to ever get enough of, whatever it is, protein, for example, on this particular diet without trying to kind of get to the bottom of the whole fulsome picture. And then maybe perhaps giving yourself a chance to explore the animal proteins again, just to see how you will feel, maybe even a little bit of fish, because if your body is not doing well with the plant-based sources of protein, then you might need to look into the other types. So just trying to do that full exploring of exactly what could be going on, how is your body responding to some of these things. And then, also making sure that you're pairing that with training, so strength training. Older women, we need to be, lifting weights 2 to 3 times a week, even if it's body weight training. So making sure you're kind of pairing it with that, to kind of reduce any symptoms that you might be experiencing that are unpleasant. So maybe just a little more diving in and a little more exploring, I think, would be helpful. And then reintroducing the plant-based sources, making sure that you're looking to other plant-based sources of protein. So, making your shakes with the spirulina, for example, which is a complete source of protein. You have grains like the quinoa, which are also a complete source of protein. You have the plant-based sources of protein that are less, right? So the mushrooms, you're still going to get your protein there, but not as much. And it's not a complete source. So you have to pair it so that you'll get all of your 9 essential amino acids there. So I think maybe just a little more diving in and a little more exploring, looking at the full picture, and trying to see maybe your body is asking for more animal sources, right? But I think it would be too soon to make that conclusion before kind of taking that 6-week journey of just like diving into that food journal.
Thank you, Kamila. So what I'm hearing you say is that really there are no quick fixes. We really have to take the time and to be consistent to really explore what is going on. I see we're just up at the time, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Can we take one more question? Do you have time and space for another question?
Yes.
Mina,
I
please
have
go
a
ahead.
question.
Mina and then that's two, sorry.
Hi, Kamila.
Hi.
I know your journey from what I know, right? You have been working on weight loss. For me, I have an issue with weight gain. So I lose weight very quickly. And with autoimmune diseases, this even makes it more difficult. So I have completely cut out meats. I do eat fish, and I stopped dairy as well. But I have lost way too much weight. So now I'm trying to figure out like how I can just put some more weight on my body where I just feel and look a little bit more healthier.
Right. And the feel part, even more importantly. Hi,
Yeah.
how are you? Okay, so are you skipping any meals?
Yes. Not purposely. So yeah.
Of course not. Right. Yes.
Life
Yes. Probably
busy.
life is
Yeah.
gets away with you. You have to be so intentional about not skipping the meals, which kind of goes to that meal prep, right? And even meal planning is going to be essential for you, because if you leave it to the day, then, obviously it's going to be like, okay, the day has already started. It's getting away with you with all of, what life is throwing at you. And so I think before even meal prep comes that previous step, which is the meal planning. So kind of understanding, okay, what are the meals that you can prepare for yourself at home, and just kind of setting, a little plan for yourself. I'm seeing Allison here. Hi, Allison. How are you? And I'm bringing her up because she has been a part of the WellFit Club, which is where we spent a lot of time understanding meal planning and just kind of writing that structure for ourselves. So for somebody who wants to sustain weight, you're going to have your breakfast. You have to have a little snack. You have to have lunch. You have to then have another little snack. Then you have to have dinner. Even if you're going to be cutting off for, after a certain time, if you are skipping any meals, then, that might be where the problem is for you. And so, and not, I've worked with clients who lose weight too easily, but then they might be, just gorging with processed food, or, a quick fast food, or, just because you want to try and get in all the calories, right? But then you want to do it in a healthy way. So think of complex carbohydrates and the carbohydrates that are going to sustain you. So for example, at breakfast, you can tackle some oatmeal, for example. And in that oatmeal, you put in your healthy fats, so your nuts. I like to have my oatmeal with some almonds and pumpkin seeds, and maybe some bananas that are kind of chopped up. Definitely getting in your fruits. That's another really great source of energy there. And pairing it with high fiber food so that you're not kind of creating a crash for your blood sugar there. But definitely oatmeal is a win for you. And even if you're not having it as kind of like a bowl of oatmeal, you could also add it to smoothies. Smoothies is another really awesome meal to just kind of have in the morning, especially if your mornings are busy. What I like to do is make little smoothie packs. And so you can put in a Ziploc bag, for example, some oatmeal, bananas, maybe a little bit of spirulina, as we were just saying, Melanie. Putting all your nutrients in those packs, and maybe you can make like 5 packs for the week. Then you just kind of store it in your freezer, and then in the morning you just put that pack in the blender, and then you can add your liquid, whether it's coconut water or you can use plant-based milk. But definitely kind of starting your day with a very enriching breakfast, right? And then now you want to have a little snack. So again, you want to be pairing your protein with a complex carb. So let's say hummus, which is, chickpeas and tahini, and then, using some veggie sticks, so chopping up some carrots. So again, this kind of goes back to the knowing what you're going to have and then prepping up in advance. And I think this also speaks to the time that we were speaking of, right? So giving yourself at least a 6-week period of experiencing this change and then, checking back in. Am I now sustaining my weight? When I am eating consistently throughout the day, I'm having my breakfast, I'm having a snack, I'm having lunch, and these are all wholesome meals. And it's going to be a project, right? Because now this is just, kind of prep all throughout the day. I mean, not all throughout the day, but, a lot more than maybe what you're doing at the moment. So it's going to take a different level of not just consciousness, but attention and care. And, I think it would be worth to just try that for a sustained period so that you can see, well, when I am preparing these meals for myself, then I am sustaining weight. Or it might be even with all of these, meals that I'm consuming after the 6 weeks, I'm still not keeping weight. And then now that will lead us to more kind of exploring to kind of get to the root of what could be happening. But I think it will take a shift, and you can start small at first, because if you're skipping meals just based on what life is throwing at you at the moment, then going from skipping meals to eating, 3 complete meals and 2 snacks throughout the day is obviously going to be a drastic change. So just kind of take your time with it and make sure that you're not stressing or don't create stress for yourself, because that also, will disrupt hormones as well. So I think just taking some time to really think through what are some meals that you love that you can prepare. And remember that a lot of meal prep can just simply be in the veggies and the food seasonings that you're prepping in advance, because the most consuming, time-consuming part of meal prep, or even cooking for that matter, is the chopping. So once you have all of those things chopped up and kind of already prepped, and you know what you're going to be consuming for the day, then after that, the actual preparation may take 10, 15 minutes, right? Or 40 minutes with something in the oven when you can be doing something else simultaneously. So I think making sure that you're not skipping the meals, because if you are having trouble sustaining your weight, that's one of the first and the best solutions, to just make sure that you're not skipping your meals.
Kamila, quick question. Is the WellFit Club, do you have a YouTube channel? Where can someone hear more about you talking about things like this?
So we have a library right now at thewellfitclub.com. We've been working on relaunching this program, except that every time that we're like just about to relaunch it, there's another restaurant that opens. So it's kind of been a delayed process and journey. But the idea is that it will return to being a live program. But right now, we ran that program live for 4 years. And so all of the videos, the workouts, the nutrition, the meal plans, all of that live right now at thewellfitclub.com. So you can check us out there. And I'm hoping, I don't want 2025 to close without returning back to our live program. So that's the aim. But for right now, it's kind of self-study, and you can still access all of the information there.
Wow. I see Mina said she had to leave for a gig. No problem. Denise, quickly, just to wrap us up, your question.
Mine was on gut, constipation. I have that issue. I'm mainly plant-based. I have added some fish, in the last few months, but that continues to be. It's always been a problem for me. I would love to be able to get to the bottom of it and be eliminating when I'm supposed to.
Right. Yes. Do I have time to answer that question, Nance?
Of course. That's a big question. What's coming up for me is stress, but that's another story. But I'll let you answer the question.
Right. And I'm happy that you said gut, because again, this is just such a fascinating area of health. And, our gut is home to trillions of microbes, right? So bacteria, viruses, fungi, it's our gut microbiome, and it's like your body's control center, right? So your digestion, as you said, Denise, your immunity, so 80% of our immunity, of our immune system lives in our guts. Even our mood, people don't realize that. So that hormone serotonin, 90% of that is created in your gut, and that's kind of the mood hormone, right? And your energy, cravings, even inflammation, just everything. So when your gut is inflamed or imbalanced, you feel it in kind of every area of your life, and perhaps it is showing up in your digestion. And we have to think of our gut. I like to think of it like a garden, just like a beautiful, rich garden. And in that garden, you have the good bacteria. So those are the good guys, right? Those are the guys that help us to digest our food. They're the guys that help us to produce vitamins. They support our immune system. They help to balance our mood, as we were saying, glowing skin, all of those things. And just like a garden, we have to nurture it, we have to water it, we have to feed it with the right things, right? And then they're the bad guys. And so, think about if you just poured bleach all over your beautiful garden, or you put garbage on top of a garden, right? Not intentionally, many of us do this to our gut, right? Just based on habits that we've picked up along the way, or maybe food that we're consuming that we think are healthy just because of how it's marketed and stuff, that are just kind of causing havoc. And so it sounds like you're already well on your way in that journey, being predominantly plant-based and just kind of understanding the foods that nourish your gut and the foods that are going to create inflammation in your gut. So, for anyone else who's looking into this area as well, that would be the very ultra processed food. Right? So any food that's labeled the low fat, the sugar-free, preservative foods, artificial flavors, basically, food that's just lots of labels. These processed foods feed the bad bacteria and are linked to the inflammation, the sugar cravings, and if we can't recognize it, our gut definitely does not recognize it as food. Then you have other things like antibiotics or certain medications that create havoc in your gut. Nadine just mentioned stress. That's a very, very, very big one. And that's kind of like a silent gut killer, the stress, right? So when we're in constant like fight or flight mode, the body is no longer focused on digestion, right? It's focused on survival. So, I remember when I was in a physically abusive marriage, and I was doing all the right things and eating all the right things, and I was doing all the right exercise and such, but my body was in constant flight or fight, and I was always arguing and always, stressed out. And so my body was not properly breaking down food, which is what kind of led to malabsorption, bloating, indigestion. I had a full face of acne, and I just couldn't understand it because I was, so healthy otherwise. Sleep is also a gut disruptor, right? So the gut has a circadian rhythm just like we do. And so, if you're going to bed at 2 a.m., maybe you're eating meals at just very erratic times, you're not resting, your microbiome gets confused and it cannot do its job, right? Nighttime is when our gut detoxes, when our gut regenerates and just rebalances. And so sleep is another big one when it comes on to digestion and just kind of healing your gut. And you have to kind of protect your sleep like your life depends on it, because it does. And then there are other, things, alcohol, you have your smoking. So those are the stressors of the gut. And when we think of digestion, and we have to think about all of these things and making sure that, that's not a part of the process. And then, so there's the eliminating of those things. And then there's the eating more of the good stuff that's going to feed the good guys, right? And when we're healing our gut, you have to both think of kind of prebiotics. So what's feeding the good bacteria, and then the probiotics, which is different. So that's helping to proliferate the good guys and make more of them, right? So fiber is a big one. I don't know. Would you say that you're getting quite a bit of fiber? I think on a plant-based diet, Denise, you're probably getting a lot of fiber, right?
I think I'm getting enough. A lot of beans and legumes. I'm getting enough fiber, but still not
And
moving the way I want to.
not moving the way you want. What about?
I have recently added some fermented stuff like kombucha. So
Great.
it's beginning to see a shift.
Yes.
So just any tips that I can add to that to help things get better
Move along.
would be good.
Okay, so in addition to the legumes, what about just veggies in general?
I'm a more warm food person. I'm not a salad person, but I understand. Yeah, I'm hearing you. Maybe I need to address that. When I go for a meal, I want it warm. I want soup. I want, warm food. I'm not big into salad.
Right. Okay, so if you're into the soups and the warmer food, how about incorporating that in the soups? So for example, taking 2 cups of broccoli and with some coconut milk and blending out, and then all of the salad stuff that you don't enjoy eating raw necessarily, which is another thing. Because, if you can just introduce it slowly, maybe you can create a really delicious dressing. That sometimes helps, right? So mixing, a little bit of olive oil with some tahini and some garlic, apple cider vinegar and such, right? Blending up a nice, and then maybe some maple syrup or agave or even honey if you are okay with honey. Making a nice dressing so that you can eat some of these vegetables raw. Because the thing is, because there's so many different types of bacteria, we need each vegetable feeds a different type of bacteria, right? So even though you're getting the fiber, which is great from the legumes and the nuts and the seeds and such, you have to be getting it from the plant base, because that's where the phytonutrients, the antioxidants, all of the vitamins and the minerals that your gut microbes need to survive and thrive and proliferate and just really do what it should be doing there, right? You have to be getting more of those veggies. So one, trying to just be open to having them raw, because there's something really powerful about the raw veggies. But then also connecting to what you love the most, which is the warmth part of the veggies. So incorporating them in your soups. Cauliflower makes delicious because it makes soup really creamy and nice. So when you pair like the cruciferous vegetables like the cauliflower and the broccoli and those things, and you pair it with some coconut milk, and then you kind of cook it down with the rest of the veggies, that now helps, so with the tomato soup, make it rich with real tomatoes, right? So incorporating those in your soups, and then roasting veggies is another really delicious way to consume your veggies. So think beetroot, which is such a powerful detoxifier. And when it comes on to digestion, beetroot is excellent. So if you just chop up some beetroot, right? And I know that has like a earthy taste. Not many people love it. But if you massage it with the olive oil or the coconut oil, sprinkle some, whether it's rosemary or some of your favorite herbs, and then even so when you roast that in the oven, after you take it out, sprinkle just a little bit of agave, just not so much, but just to kind of help with the flavor. It brings out, and remember, beets have like a natural sweetness. And so when you roast them, just and like many other veggies, you roast them in the oven, it brings out the natural sugars out of them. And so just trying to incorporate, I think it might be that your body is missing the veggies, whether it's you blend them in the soup, you roast them, or you have them raw with a nice salad. I think that will actually help a lot with your digestion. So don't only rely on the beans and the peas and the nuts and stuff, which are excellent. Actually, thankfully, you're doing well with that. As we heard from Melanie, it doesn't work for everybody. At least you're not experiencing the bloating and the gassiness that she might be experiencing. But what it feels like you might be missing are the vegetables. And we should be eating actually as much as 30 different types of veggies every week. Wide variety to help us. So if you're at 0, obviously, moving to 5 even is excellent for you. And then you just slowly, just try to go on that little journey and check back in with yourself again in a couple of weeks and see how you're feeling.
Wow, that's a lot of information. Oh my goodness. And we've only just begun. I have put a ton of information in the chat. You will receive this recording along with the chat. I did put your book in there, Wake Up and Live. It is available on Amazon by Kamila McDonald, a mind-body centered approach to all of what we've spoken about. Kamila, thank you so very much. I am deeply, deeply honored that you took the time and the space. And now you see the amount of work where we have to do. You understand?
Yes.
Yeah, we have some
Yes.
work to do.
Yes, always.
Always. Thank you everyone for being here. We have some exciting things in the pipeline. Frederica and Ayan, Melania and I are going to be in touch with you on a particular project that we're designing that is speaking exactly to you, because we have been in your world and we know the world is shifting. And so we want to hold space for you as you make that shift. Ali, always great to see you. Miss Paulette, Ruth, Denise. Denise, I'm going to check in with you one away. And Kamila, thank you so much. Have a beautiful day, everyone.
Thank you so much,
Bye.
everyone.
So
Thank you
much
for having
love.
me.
Thank you. And look out for this video. There's a lot of information here. Take care. Enjoy your day. Okay. Bye. Bye.